I had a notification the other day that I've been making YouTube videos for 5 years. Now that also means that this dress is 5 years old. Now if you don't recognise it, this was my very first vintage sewing project here on YouTube. And because I've been doing this make, do and mend rationing challenge, I've been really revisiting a lot of the pieces that are already in my wardrobe, and I found myself reaching for this dress a lot more than I ever did when I first finished it. But there are some things about it that kind of get on my nerves, so I think today we're finally, 5 years later, going to fix them. Yes, it's a different day. Turned out I definitely wasn't well enough to be doing this. So one of the things about this dress that wasn't as successful as I had hoped was the fabric choice. I don't know if you can hear that. When I bought it in a second-hand shop, and it was listed as vintage fabric, and it was very cheap. There was loads of it for about £5 or something. And I loved the print and the colour. I thought it was so kind of 1930s feed sack. So I snapped it up. And I'd assumed it was a viscose because of the way it moved. But as I was sewing with it, I was sort of like, I think this might be a blend. And then as I started to wear it, I was like, nah, this is definitely a synthetic, because it's really not very breathable. And as a result, it's kind of a bit sweaty. Now, obviously there's not really a lot I can do about that apart from make this pattern in an entirely different fabric, which I would like to do at some point. But in terms of make, do and mending this dress, that's not very helpful. Now I have found that it is manageable if I wear something underneath it, like a slip or something, but that does really limit this dress to being a winter dress, which is fine. But unfortunately, the sweatiness aspect of it is compounded by the fact that the sleeves are now too tight on me. So I am briefly going to talk about disability, chronic illness, weight changes, diet, all those sorts of things. So if you would like to skip this portion of the video, you can use the chapters, or you can go to this timestamp. I love you. See you on the other side. Please take care of yourself. So I have been chronically ill for a very long time, and so I've always known that you have kind of a limited ability to control your size and shape. There are so many other factors at play that are more important than the way you look, many of which you have zero control over. So I've always, when making my own clothes, tried to factor in adjustability and alterability, and that is one of the reasons why I like to make my own clothes. However, my body has changed in ways I couldn't have anticipated when I was making those clothes. And because I've never been the shape I am now, even if I was the same dress size, because I've never been the same actual shape, I have never had to deal with the fit issues that I now have as a result of primarily having bigger boobs. So previously, I have always had a short waist, so I've always shortened the bodice patterns of my clothes, but also graded out that seam allowance because I thought, well, I'm not going to grow any taller, I'm not going to need to add length, am I? But of course, once you get a bigger bust, you do need length to get over it. So a lot of the clothes I made, the waistline is like now really much too high at the front. Thankfully, that hasn't been an issue with this dress, which is one of the reasons why I think I've been reaching for it more. But I don't know what I'm going to do about a lot of the others. The other part of my body that's changed is, of course, my arms. I'm just so much weaker than I used to be. You know, I can't even lift a full kettle. Is it any surprise that my arms are less toned than they used to be? No, of course it isn't. But again, because I've never been this disabled before, I've never appreciated how that aspect of it would impact my body shape. So I need to alter the sleeves of this dress. So welcome back to those who've just rejoined us. The long and short of it is I need to let some places out. And unfortunately, one of the things I did, which comes back to this not ideal fabric choice, is because I was making it for a video, I wanted there to be some sort of reason to watch the video. So I deliberately used as many period accurate techniques to make this dress as I could. So for the seam allowances, I just pinked the edges because that's often what you see in vintage clothes. But of course, the second I washed it, the synthetic fabric just disintegrated. So I did go in and zigzag over all the edges of all the seam allowances, but they've so much frayed away that I've really got very little to play with in terms of alterations. So I think I'm literally just going to have to use the overlocker and overlock them together, which is not ideal in terms of if I want to alter it in the future. And I was sat here thinking, oh, I've got loads of this fabric left. I think I got rid of it. I think I sold it as part of my de-stash. So maybe I haven't. I was like, I can just recut new sleeves if it doesn't work. but I don't think I can. So, oh well, we'll see. Hopefully plan A works and overlocking it together is enough room, because the benefit of overlocking it together is that it means I can maximise the seam allowance that I do have, so I get the most room, because I can literally go as close to the edge as the overlocker will allow. And hopefully, with a bit more room in the sleeve, it will not only just be a bit more comfortable to wear, but it will also be slightly less sweaty. Now, I did leave quite generous hems on everything, and I've hand sewn all the hems, so I'm going to have to undo all my hand sewing, redo that seam, and then re-hem everything. So if I do need to put like a little bit of a gusset in, I think there will be enough, at least in the hem, that I could chop a panel off and do a narrower rolled hem. Let's hope the first option works. The other aspect of this that makes it not particularly comfortable to wear is these shoulder pads. So this is a 1940s dress. To get that really strong shouldered 1940s silhouette, you need shoulder pads. Now when I made it, I just used the ones I had, which is this kind of plasticky, again, foam. And because I didn't know whether or how these would wash, or if I'd need to be constantly taking them in and out to wash them, to wash the dress, I just tacked them in as they were. Now, it turns out I can wash them just fine, but that does mean that I have to wear them with the foam on my skin, and I really don't like the feel of that. So what I want to do is, I've got some scrap jersey here. So what I'm thinking is I take the shoulder pads out, I enclose them in some jersey and sew that up, and then sew them in a more permanent way so that they don't flap about as much. And hopefully that will make this dress more pleasant. I also think I need to look at the facings in some places, as a kind of, because it's got this very high neckline, there's something pulling in this section that I want to try and address, and I don't know whether I need to clip it more. I don't know whether I've just tacked the facing down too tight, but I do often get the kind of flappy, pokey outy facings on this, so I might go in and herringbone them down. I think I could get away with it. The pattern's busy enough that if I do very small hand stitches, I think it would be fine. And then the last thing is, it is just a touch too short, and I would like it to be a bit longer, but I'm really not sure I've got the hem allowance to make it any... I don't know whether it's worth redoing the hem, basically, because in some places I've only got like just an inch with a pinked edge. So I suppose I could use like a hem facing and try and get a longer hem out of it. But I just don't know whether, for maybe maximum half an inch more, whether it's worth all the effort. So I might try it on and see once I've done everything else. But yes, first of all, I think I'm going to take the shoulder pads out, and I'm going to tackle this underarm seam. So let's see how we get on. Love that I just biroed on that balance mark there. Lovely. So it looks like I did a blind herringbone stitch. And it's interesting that the seams that I pinked along the cross grain haven't frayed, but the ones I pinked along the straight grain absolutely shredded. So I think when I do rehem these, I think even so I'll do a herringbone over that pinked edge, just so it's a bit more secure. Now, do I want... It's like in a couple of places where I zigzagged it, I caught the main fabric as well. You see what I mean about how little seam allowance there is there? I really don't think it's going to make a massive difference. Actually, turns out I used a blind slip stitch, and also I didn't even double the thread. What kind of sacrilege is this? Did I take leave of my senses when making this dress? What? What on earth possessed me to only use a single thread? Never, if you're hand sewing, never, ever only use a single thread. Always double your thread. Okay, let's see how this goes, shall we? I don't want to have to undo my sleeve seams, so I'm just going to run off at the end there. It's probably too dark for you to see that. Sorry, there's a thunderstorm happening. Hardly any extra. Oh. Am I going to have to unpick this and then have regretted doing this first? So, moment of truth. Still, oh no, it's still too tight. I mean, it is better, actually. I think I could live with it. I mean, the reality is I don't have the energy to do more to it just yet. Given that I've still got other things I want to do to this dress today. So I might just have to live with it as it is for now, and then decide whether, with the other improvements, if it's worth putting more of my time and energy into making this dress better, or whether at that point I say to myself, you know what, let's just make another one in a better fabric that's more comfortable. Let's do the shoulder pads and see. So the shoulder pads, I've literally just folded a square of jersey around, and I'm just going to overlock around the edges. See how we get on. Probably caught the foam a little bit in the seam, but I'm not really bothered about that. In true chronic illness style, after overlocking these, I came back up the stairs ready to hand sew them in place and realised I left the matching colour thread downstairs. So I've had to sit here and rest until I'm well enough to go back down the stairs and come back up the stairs so I can get the thread that I need so that I can actually finish this. Infuriating. Infuriating. Treated myself to a bit of chocolate. Anyway. Haven't got a thimble either. I think I'll hem the sleeves first and then put the shoulder pads in, because I think it might make it a bit awkward to do it the other way around. I haven't pressed it. I have got my little iron here, but it's downstairs. Let's just bish bash bosh get this done. I think. If I'm honest, I'm not entirely sure of the best way to add these shoulder pads, so I'm literally just whipping them in. I started in the middle, which, I mean, at least I suppose they'll be balanced. But. So, attempt number 2, I realised halfway through that I'd sewn it in upside down, hadn't I? So that when I flipped it back round this way, it was curling the opposite direction. But that's a bit better now. It has definitely lost some of its curl, so I might have to like steam it into place. But I have also tried to like herringbone down this facing. There's something funny still with that shoulder seam. I've clipped the seam allowance even more. Is it like further up in there it needs clipping? I know, still not. That curve there, still pulling in some funny ways. But I think that might be the best I can do. Anyway, I've run out of energy after hand sewing for like 30 minutes. Yay! So I think I might have to leave the rest of this for another day. Okay, a new day. Haven't worn this cardigan for a little while, found it in a drawer. I think let's hem the other sleeve first and then put the shoulder pad in and see where we're up to. It always makes me laugh because whenever I do like a shot like this, where I just start sewing and I don't really think about what's in the background of the shot, I inevitably get comments that are like, "Oh, I love seeing your messy desk. Makes me feel so much better about my messy desk," or something like that. And I'm there like, "Oh, I tidied up. I tidied." This is not my idea of messy. You have no idea. Oh, God. Oh, look here. Can you see? I've done the classic thing of trapped it one way in the seam allowance at the shoulder and done it flat at the neck. So this time, when I put the shoulder pad in the right way round, hopefully that will mean... Just put a pin in that, find the centre. Yeah, that should do it. That should be okay. I've clipped that seam allowance there in the hope that that will help it lie a bit flatter. Start by sewing it in at this end. Okay. I think that's it. I think it's done. Just double check I put it in the right way. Yes, I did. I've got to iron my sleeve seams, but I don't have a sleeve board. How have I... Oh well. So, I mean, but you can see just how little extra room I was able to get out. And yes, I could potentially cut a strip of this, but even if I did tiny weeny quarter seam allowances, I'm probably only getting another ½ an inch out of that maximum, which is probably what I've got already. So really, I think what that's confirmed to me is that I'd like to make another version of this dress. Will I ever get around to that? Will I ever have the energy and the time and the inclination to do it? Maybe. But for now, let's hope that this version is at least more comfortable to wear. So welcome back to my bedroom at my parents' house, which is somehow even messier than when I lived here full time. But I had hoped to film this dress in the garden, but it is just too cold for that. I can't bring myself to do it. So I've sort of tried to show you the best I can with the limited space. When I first altered this dress, I really thought it wasn't gonna make any difference. And I don't know whether, I mean, I've had a really bad kind of bug between when I finished altering this dress and filming this now. So I don't know whether I've just lost weight as a result of not being able to eat because of the bug. Before I was like, that made no difference at all. And now it feels perfectly comfortable and wearable in the arms. So I much prefer, I've only got like a camisole top on today, and the shoulder pads feel so much better. And I actually think that they give a better line there. There's still something funny happening here. I think it's literally just that this length is a bit short. I think it's where I've sewn in the facing and edge stitched it. As a result of trying to edge stitch it to keep the facing in, I've pulled this bit too tight so that it lays a bit funny. But I don't think it's that noticeable, and I don't know whether I care that much, but it's something I might consider on the next version, because like I say, I would like to make another version, is maybe lengthening this seam or changing this angle here. I do also have a very narrow neck, so I wonder whether if you're slightly thicker of the neck and you kind of fill this bit out, that wouldn't be an issue. I'm really pleased that I get to carry on wearing this dress. I do think it's too short still, but I don't think that lengthening it by ½ inch is going to have the effect that I want. I don't think it's going to improve it enough that I'm willing to faff about with that. But anyway, thanks for watching this little video where I revisit one of my first ever projects. I would love to hear if you were around in those days when I first made this dress, or if that's the video that brought you to Retro Claude. Let's hope I wear this dress for another 5 years. Thanks for watching. See you next time.